know what you That's some good advice. All right, Nick, please do the opposite for me. Give me some bad advice on building resilience.
Oh, bad advice. I would go with allow everybody to build things on their own without talking to anybody else.
Ooh, that is some bad advice. All right, I'm coming back to you, Liz, and I realize I switched this all up. I was going to start with Nick, but I'm coming back
Or
to you, Liz. I pulled an audible on this one. Give me some worse advice on building resilience.
Well, you can have absolutely no naming convention or any record of any of your most important assets at all.
That sounds awful. All right, let's start this.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
Welcome, everybody, to today's Super Cyber Friday. And if this is your first time on AirMeet, welcome to the AirMeet platform. This platform, I think, is a lot better than Crowdcast, what we were using before. Today's topic is hacking the resilience mindset, thinking that really security is about resilience. It's not about security, which is a different concept, but an hour of critical thinking about building the proper foundation for success. Because that's what you want, success. You want success, not necessarily security. All right, our guest, who you just met moments ago, Nick Vigier, who is the CISO over at Oscar Health, and also Liz Morgan, the field CISO over at Axonius. Huge thanks to our sponsor, Axonius. They've been a phenomenal sponsor of the CISO series. Thrilled having them on again. All right, lots of ways to participate. For those who've been here before, just to review them. We have the chat room. We have the bad idea, which is worst way to build resilience. How should you not build resilience? But our 10% better tip is give us some advice on building resilience. Remember, mark them with the hashtag bad idea or hashtag 10P for 10% better as well. You can join us on video with Bring Me On, ask a question for our guest. Please send in your questions. There is a tool right there in the chat where you can do that and vote for your favorite question as well. All right, our schedule, some of the classics. We'll play Public Interest, Department of Yes, Last Question Answered. And here's the great thing about this new platform. The meetup we do at the end is still on this platform. You don't have to go anywhere. Just stay where you are, and we'll have our post-show meetup where we'll all get a chance to face-to-face. You all get broken in the face into different groups, but it's really cool. All right. Let me just one more thing to mention is we're going to be doing another show next week, hacking vendor competition. This is going to be a great topic. We're going to have the one of the founders of the Cybersecurity Marketing Society and also Andy Ellis, one of my co-hosts, will be both co-hosting that event. An hour of critical thinking about when sales tactics cross the line or not cross the line. What's good and what's not good. All right. And remember, stick around for our meetups at the end of the show. All right. Let me hide that from stage. All right. Let's talk about Nick. Can you come back on camera? You kind of disappeared from camera.
My microphone keeps dropping into a different mic. So
does it? You're getting swapped around. All right, Liz, I'm going to ask both of you. Explain the difference, just so we can set the stage. I think I know, and I think our audience knows it as well, but just so we're all on the same page. Explain the difference between something being secure and being resilient, and why does this distinction matter? Liz.
It's a good question. I thought a lot about this, and I think I can definitely get myself into some verbal trouble here. So I'm going to do my best. I think when you secure your environment or you secure an asset, I think you're doing everything you can to prevent the intrusion upon that asset with every kind of known variable out there. So you've got your vulnerabilities remediated, you've got your security agents there, more tactical. Resilience, however, goes a step farther. I think securing a system is part of the overall resilience sort of idea, where you do your very best to secure based on what you know about the threats that are, likely to impact your host, for instance, or your environment. But then you could take it a step further and you start talking about what do we do in the event there is a problem? What do we do in the event there is an intrusion? Are we able to operate differently, fail over? You get into stuff that is much more operationally minded than just straight cyber. You start talking about continuity, even looking at the people involved in the admin of the system, et cetera. Do you have to do, workforce offload, or do you have to do a failover again to a DR environment, et cetera? So in other words, how do you continue to operate if something happens to that system? So secure, I think, is being prepared for the worst, ideally, There's a certain amount of proactivity that I think goes into good security, frankly, which is kind of along the lines of continuous improvement, making sure everything's kind of set up the way it's supposed to from a configuration and agent perspective, for instance. But the resilience piece has many more legs to it.
All right. Nick, let's hope your microphone is what we want. We were getting some echo issues. Go ahead and talk.
I mean,
What,
do they
what
have
would
to
you
be
add to?
different?
No,
Right? Like, do they really have to be different? They're kind of different mindsets, right? I mean, when you think about security, it's trying, in a lot of instances, it's like, I'm trying to prevent a negative action from happening, right? Like, hey, we're gonna get breached, or it's an activity against you to a large extent. Whereas when you think about resilience, it's more about like, okay, well, what would happen if like security failed? How bad could it get? And how do we make sure that we're resilient from that happening? And so like, that's kind of, I think the old mindset was really just like, hey, we're just going to focus on securing the things, which is just like buying insurance to a large extent, right? And so it's always a race to zero, and nobody wants it. No one really understands the value of it, because how do you prove that something didn't happen? Whereas the resilient side of things, I think, is a lot more about how do I make it so you don't care? And I think that's a much more, it's a richer conversation, but it's just a different mindset, hacking the mindset of how you portray what we're doing, what we're doing as an industry. So yeah, I think securing is kind of like putting the locks on and like trying to stop the bad thing from happening in the first place. But resilience is like what happens after bang.
By the way, so I want to just remind people that there's a Q&A icon that's just below the chat icon on the right. So please, click on that to ask your questions of our guests. All right. Oh, Dustin is a huge fan of Liz Morton here. All right. So Liz, you had mentioned this, and this is really kind of the core capability of Axonius, why Axonius sort of initially existed, but visibility in assets and infrastructure. I mean, we kind of all know why this is the case, but it's so friggin' darn difficult. I mean, I don't think you need to explain why this is important, but like, let's get into the nitty gritty of why knowing everything is key, because I think most people they were like, well, I guess the best I'm going to be able to do is 90%. I'm not going to be able to see anymore. Like, why is the loss that sort of, I guess, that those blind spots so essentially can, knock us out at the knees, in this resilience mindset?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think what you're asking is like, why is it important to look at everything and to know everything? And I think that's because when you're in cyber, especially, everything is your remit generally. If you're in operational IT, you're probably focused on one or more environments. When you're in cyber, you first of all don't have a lot of insight into what those environments can really mean from a business perspective, but they're all your problem. So one of my favorite cynicisms about life in general is like, it's a little like marriage. It's not your fault, but it's definitely your problem. And that's cyber's kind of position in the world. So if somebody is doing a great job building securely, you're great. If somebody's doing a very poor job building securely, you're not great, but you got to know that one way or another. So that's why at Axonius, we really treat everything like an asset, because the attack surface kind of keeps going and going and going and going and going, especially in this day and age where we're looking at identities being involved in almost every major breach that's reported, and all the small ones that never make the news as well, pretty much. So now we're talking about attack surface, including human and non-human identities. And let's warm up. I'm going to do the first mention of AI, because that makes the attack surface even that more complex.
By the way, James Sparenberg has a relevant question here, and I'll throw this to you, Nick. On resilience, can the blind spots be created by TMI as opposed to not enough insight?
Well, and I think what's interesting in the resilience conversation, I mean, it's important to have the information available about everything, but it doesn't mean you focus on everything, right? And so like how you prioritize what you're going to focus on from a resilience perspective is really a lot more about, like, I use what I call a fragility or artisanality index, where I'm like, how artisanal is that thing? Like I care about artisanal things. Artisanal things are fragile. Artisanal things are not resilient, right? How do you take all that information together and then figure out like how do I identify what's brittle, what's fragile, what's artisanal, what is the thing that is different from all the other things that are like it, or that is behaving differently than all the other things that are like it. And that's really like how we go and drive that overall change towards resilience and then driving performance, honestly, is by getting rid of those artisanal fragile things. But you need to have full visibility to find those things in the first place.
Good point. All right. Please get your questions in. And actually, if we get that registration link for our next event, it just popped up in front of you. So it's like covering the screen. Don't hit the X in the upper right-hand corner. Instead, hit the little register button in the lower left and actually register for next week's event, Hacking Vendor Competition. Please go ahead and do that. Just click. And what it'll do is it'll take you to another window. It won't take you out of this event. You'll still be in this event while still being able to register over there. All right. I got to assume the business likes a resilience strategy. Yes? I mean, why wouldn't the business like a resilience strategy, Nick?
I mean, why would they not like it?
Yeah, I mean, but like when you
Or how
when
could
you
they
come
not?
right down to it, the business wants to hear resilience. They don't want to hear security, right?
The business wants to hear about speed and they want to hear about how they're going to make money, right?
Right.
But I think resilience is the really interesting story in there. So, and that's where, my comparison point that I use is like, we want to use big words like resilience and security and risk and everything else, but it's really like when you think about resilience and bringing that into your own personal life, it's really about like athletes are resilient. They're resilient to injury and illness, right? They're recover faster. And so the result is really that and then athletes perform and win, right? And that's the part of the story the business wants to hear
That's a
about.
very good metaphor right there. That's an excellent metaphor.
That's how I try to position it of like resilience. Like Change Healthcare is a great example. Last year it got breached. Oscar Health, like we were a customer of theirs, and that's how we receive our claims. And while we weren't breached, we had a problem with the business process that was key to the business. What the failure was for Change Healthcare wasn't necessarily the fact that they got breached. I mean, that's obviously bad. But what really affected their business is they were not resilient. They could not recover their systems. They couldn't get back online and start sending us claims again, right? That was the failure. That was the real business impacting failure. Everything else is insured and recoverable and, things happen. But resilience is really, in the ultimate state, it's like how you, keep the business running. But I think if it's done in the right way, we're actually going faster, stronger. And that's a much more interesting business conversation and an investment at that point and not an expense.
What would you add to the athlete metaphor, Liz?
I absolutely love that metaphor, and I use it, so I'm a little mad at Nick right now for having stolen my thunder, but that's okay. The only thing I would add really to what Nick had to say, I think it's very well put. Somebody put in the chat about friction. Yeah, that is why the business cares about resilience, ultimately, whether they're referring to it directly or not. A system that's down can't make money. Time is not just money, it's also reputation. It's also a bunch of headache on the back end if you can't service your customers and you
additional costs.
Additional costs, absolutely. So, I mean, that all comes under the header of friction in one way or another. So if you've worked out your plan for recovery and you've practiced how you play, the chances that you're going to be able to remove a whole bunch of, kind of loss, friction, upset, risk, etc., is very high. And the business tends to really like that.
All right, let's go to our first game.
Do you know what others are thinking? On the public interest.
All right, here we go. We have 4 questions for you, and the audience plays along as well. So, audience, get ready to play along. It is very difficult to go 4 for 4 in this game, how simple it is. I have not seen the questions, so I'm going to play along with you as well. Here we go. First question. Most average monthly search queries, what do you think gets more, persistence or stamina? Liz, Nick?
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to go with stamina.
I'll take the opposite. I'll go with persistence.
So it's two theories I have. I think persistence is a more common word, but I also think people have a trouble spelling it. That's why I might want to go to stamina. But I'm going to go persistence as well. I'm going to say persistence. And the correct answer is it is
Ah,
persistence. There you go.
yes.
All right. Nick and I have a point.
To be
We're
clear,
on-
I only picked it because that was what Liz didn't.
What I
pick.
didn't
So
pick.
it's not because I
There you
had any kind of.
Well, you guys
but they're
got-
very close. They're very close.
Liz had the instinct.
All right. Backbone, grit, metal. Liz, you want to make a call on this one? Or no, actually, Nick, you have to go first.
okay.
I'm gonna go with grit.
Grit. I'm going to
Can I
take
say-
backbone. I'm going to take
Can I
C.
say the same one?
Sure, sure.
Okay, I'm going to say grit too.
2 grits, 1 backbone. And the correct answer is grit
Hey.
by a lot. All right. Nick is currently 2 for 2. Liz and I only have 1 point. All right. Let's go. Adaptability, elasticity, flexibility. I'm going to go with H, flexibility.
I'm gonna go with elasticity.
Elasticity. Where are you going, Liz?
I feel like I got to go with you, so I'm going to go H.
H. Okay. 1 for elasticity, 2 for flexibility. Will Nick be 3 for 3? He is not. No, he blew his streak. Now we have a 3-way tie. We got a 3-way tie going on right now. All right. This may be the decider. We'll see. Durability, fortitude, stability, tenacity. Liz, I'll let you choose first here.
Okay, hang on. Give me just half a second. Let's see. I'm going to pull the crowd. I'm looking at the chat.
She's asking Chat GPT right now.
I'm not asking Chat GPT. I'm looking at the chat. I just have chat. I think I'm going to go with stability. I'll go with K.
With K, stability.
Yeah.
I'm going to go I, durability.
Go with fortitude.
All right. We will have a winner or not if it's tenacity. So we're see. We may or may not have a winner. And the correct answer is no winner.
It's amazing.
Oh, no.
That's amazing. All right. I want to know. I'll be stunned if anybody went 4 for 4. That will be a complete and utter shock to me if anyone went 4 for 4. Why is it present on stage? That shouldn't be. Hold on. How do I take this off the stage? It's saying present on stage, the public interest. Can you guys take that off the stage for me? Thank you. That's kind of shocking. Did anyone go 4 for 4? I got 1, James Sparrenberg. 3 for 4 for Andrew
3
Aiken.
for
Not too
4.
bad.
Pretty good.
That is
Yeah.
pretty good. Well, that's what Nick got as well. He got 3 for 4.
Way to go, Nick. It's a very obscure skill set, I think, to be able to get those questions right. Just
There you
I
go.
did do very well at the Hershey Chocolate World quiz. I destroyed my children. They
Yeah,
did not
I'm
do
sure they
very
felt
well.
good about that.
good.
It always
Good
feels
thing
I
good
felt
when
good
you
about
beat your children. It does. It is a good feeling as a parent to beat your children.
Great.
Did
Great. And it
I
feels
say that?
great.
Did someone grab that soundbite of me saying that? It's a good feeling to beat your children. Jeez. All right, Liz, with
Yes.
that setup,
I have 4 kids. I support all that. So
there you
They're
go. There you go.
resilient.
By the way,
They're resilient.
resilient.
they're
That's
resilient.
right.
You're
Nice
resilient
one.
kids. There you
Oh,
go.
Nick.
Perfect.
So good.
All right. Here I want to set the stage for you because
Okay.
Exonius has kind of been building its platform over time. Because I remember talking to Exonius really in the very early days,
Yeah.
and about how, well, we know like this is only stage 1. We know things are changing. We know what we're going to be looking for, protecting does in the future doesn't even exist now. And so your business has always been evolving what it's looking at, and given that the knowledge that it has, the capabilities that it can extend based on the knowledge, because like what you said, and like what we've heard in the very beginning of the whole marketplace of asset management, the classic line of you can't protect what you don't know, but like asset management, like data security posture management, once you know your assets, once you know your data, the capabilities are really widespread at that point. So how is Axonius taking that foundation to build out a resilient program for
Sure.
its customers?
Yeah, so we have an at Axonius now. I think we've defined maybe just over 40 different asset types. So everything from stuff that would be an asset in anybody's mind, right? A laptop, a server, what have you, all the way through to containers, identities, non-human identities. We treat these assets pretty much the same across the board, right? And that we aggregate all that data from various tools and various sources that we connect in via API, right? Take all that data, and you can start to lay out a picture of the world where you have varying degrees of, let's say, fidelity around the data of by asset, right? So where you have high fidelity data, you have a high degree of confidence for what you can really do. So that is the foundation of everything we build, is that truth about assets themselves. So step one was establishing visibility, and we've done that, I think, better than just about anybody in the industry. You can get a highly reliable data source for anything that you want to do. Because you're right. Once you know what you have, once you have a good source of truth, a single source of truth about your assets,
Mhm.
you can extrapolate that out and do just about anything, especially when you have APIs involved. So we've got a fully expressed API. We have customers that use their own automation platforms and traditional automation. We have customers that are feeding AIs at this point using Axonius data. You can do what you want. For us, we've taken a strategic position to
Mhm.
focus in areas of great complexity and great risk. So this year we came out with identities, which is exactly what it sounds like. It does tackle some of the identities functions that are like have been handled by like SailPoint, Savient, those more traditional IGA and IAM providers. And we do it by basically following sort of best practices around IAM operational stuff, around IGA, and building on that promise of truth in action. Right? We have a SOAR. Essentially, it's not. We don't call it a SOAR. We call it Enforcement Center. We call it
Mhm.
workflows. It's part of our cybersecurity asset management platform. We can use it for automating any number of things. We have, I think, 600 pre-built actions at this point. Plus, you have the ability to author your own. My favorite new product that we've come up with this year, just because I think it's going to really, really expand the usability for our platform. In other words, I think it's gonna be something that will change the game for a lot of our, especially our security customers. Is exposures, where you're able to do some risk-based vulnerability management and get out of the game of like vulnerability whack-a-mole.
Ooh.
So that's just a highlight of some of the stuff that we've been doing. There's other stuff we've been doing around SaaS management and software management for the last couple of years, and we continue to see momentum gains there in the market as more and more of our customers are kind of getting comfortable with actioning the stuff that they're seeing when they get that great visibility.
I jostled my computer. That's why my
You
camera
did.
just
It's
did that.
something I was just going to keep talking so that
No,
no
no,
one knows
you're
about it.
good. Oh, what
I
before
was
you?
actually on a call with Lenny, the CISO from Axonius,
Oh,
when New York
Lenny.
got hit by an earthquake and his camera started shaking.
Oh, geez.
And he was in
No
Brooklyn.
way.
And then my house started shaking. And I was like, well, I guess we just had an earthquake and I know where the epicenter is.
Well,
All right.
I love that Lenny
Good
was
enough.
so resilient.
All right. We have a poll that just went live. If you look at the little icons on the left, there's one that looks like a tiny little bar chart. Everyone go click on that. Please go click on that right now. This is what we are going to do for you. We will make a nice warm handoff to the fine people at Axonius to learn about this whole mode of essentially knowing your assets and building resilience. And I have a quote here from one of your customers, Dwayne Grand, who says, I can't underscore how useful it is during an emergency incident to get rapid clarity about your asset inventory and related blast radius. Speed matters in these situations. Well, if you want to know about that, we will make the warm handoff. So do me a favor, just go click. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't publish it. Here we go. Yes, I'm sorry. It is now published right now. So go, please go answer that right now. And I will take that down in just a minute. But I would want those of you who would like a nice warm handoff to go vote for your item there. Oh, or there you go. Thank you.
And
I'm
thank
going
you
to
for
hide
that.
the poll from the stage. There you go. So go ahead and do
Simple
that. And
point.
people are answering. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. And we will make that warm handoff happen. All right. Here's the other great thing. While people are answering that, we've got a lot of great questions that have come in right now. So, well, here's a good question to ask. And we kind of were asking this before. Comes from Dustin Sachs. How do you get non-tech business stakeholders to buy in on resilience since it's a cost center? So, because I'm assuming any resilient effort, Nick, we're going to you. We haven't heard from you in a little while, is going to cost money. And you're always asking for money, I'm sure, or you're just being told this is the money you've got, one or the other.
Or being told give back some of your money.
Oh, that's
Um,
another great one.
So I challenge. So there's some resilience things that do cost money, but I think that there's a lot that you can do that actually doesn't cost money, and actually is just about getting rid of that crufty stuff, right? So I think you know, for me, it's really about showing that the work that we're doing is actually eliminating the toil that other teams have, not the security teams have, but that other teams have. And oh, by the way, you're also getting a benefit out of it. And I think the other side of it too is identifying where people are building resilience and highlighting that. So if you've got an infrastructure team that's migrating to Kubernetes and they're going from VMs and they're saying, hey, we're going to bounce all the nodes every 2 weeks. And so no container will live for more than 4 hours. And so now people that had VMs that have to move to containers now need to build, can't have state. Well, guess what you just did? You built resilience. You're continuously killing these things. You're using, Sunil used DIE model, the distributed immutable ephemeral, so that now it's great for the infrastructure team because now they can, do what they need to do and not have to worry about the underlying apps that are running. But for security, you now get patching, automatic patching. You now get resilience. You don't have to worry about the fragile server that's been sitting there for 3 years that everybody's like, "We don't touch it. We don't know. We don't know if it'll come back up." And so it's not just about like what security does to build resilience or initiatives that you want to drive to resilience. It's really about how you paint that entire picture and then build that narrative. And once you start talking in that language, it really changes how you frame the work the work that needs to be done and where you're going to focus those efforts. And that turns into an investment, right? And I think that's the really important thing that we need to realize as security practitioners is that if all we're selling is security, we're selling insurance, and that's a race to zero, right? You never want to buy more insurance than you need to. You look like an idiot, right? But if you're going to drive performance and resilience, or resilience and then performance, that's an investment. There's a multiplier in there, right? And I think that's we need to be measuring those types of activities that actually help to accelerate or eliminate toil or decrease turnaround time or whatever it is. And now we get into a very different conversation that, hey, come buy some insurance from me, which no one wants to do.
Here's a question that is asked here. I'm showing this one from Kashif Abro. Isn't resilience availability here? Isn't resilience availability one of the triad of CIA in the security posture? I mean, is there a difference here? Either one of you? What do you think?
I think so. I mean, availability is certainly a measure, and following on to what Nick was saying, I think architecting with things like availability in mind is I would argue a kind of unheralded security practice because
Right.
it
And then we have,
lends itself. Yes, if so.
and then
how-
Kashif adds, well, then how do you distinguish it from business continuity? I think these are all synonymous words. Yes.
I think that availability and business continuity are byproducts of resilience, right?
Okay.
So as we think about shifting left, right, we started with protect, then we went to like business enablement, whatever that is. And now we're going into resilience, right? And resilience is really the precursor to all of those things actually just happening by themselves, right? And so I think that they're
to your solution from day one.
yeah,
right?
we created CIA because we didn't know the word resilience for some reason, right? And so I think that there's really like the I and the A are really, all about resilience to a large extent. And so it's really about how do you, shifting that conversation left as opposed to trying to teach people about, integrity and availability.
And by the way, just to give Avi Pat a moment, just asking the same question: how do you get business leaders on board for security spend to improve your organization's resilience? I mean, That's this what we're talking about. So just Avi, we appreciate your question. Just saying online with what we were just saying here. In a few minutes, make sure we get the bad ideas coming in. I haven't. We need some more bad ideas. Our producer is saying that we got a few at the beginning, but we don't have enough right now. And for them to play the department of yes, we need lots more bad ideas. Let me also mention, for those of you who don't know, who haven't been here before, a winner of a best bad idea. And by the way, Dustin Sachs, I think I've shortchanged you, and I need to send you a gift card. But tell me if I haven't this week. Is if you win and you have not won a cool CISO Series jacket, you will be the winner of a CISO Series jacket. And the people who determine who has the best bad idea is a team of CISOs that I have unnamed, so you cannot bribe them. And then we determine the best bad idea for the week. But I should mention, if you've won before, we just send you a gift card as well. So get your bad ideas in, because we will be doing this. But I got a lot of good questions, so thank you. This is a very good question, because it's sort of a tale on like spending money. Paul Lanzi asks, how do you know how much resilience to buy? That's a good question. Like, where do you make this determination, Nick?
I mean, I wouldn't say that you buy resilience, right? So I bring resilience. So resilience is really the byproducts of rhythms and habits, right? Like certificate rotation, great example, right? We build really fragile things where we don't know about the certificate rotation, and it expires after 3 years or 10 years, and no one remembers how to rotate that certificate, and turns into a giant mess, and then the system goes down and like availability goes away, right? But if you have a rhythm and habit around continuous change and continuously updating that cert, then you don't have to worry about it. And so I think it's less about, so like Let's Encrypt being a perfect example of like something that allows us to stop thinking about certificate rotations. It's awesome. So I think that like how much to buy, I don't think it's really something that you're going to go buy. I think it's really about changing the way that people think about building, right? Or think about implementing. And so now how do you help people like drive that conversation, and then how do you measure it? And then on the backside of that is the things that already exist. How do we identify things that are fragile that we now need to go and like identify the projects or the work that needs to happen in order to make those things resilient in a prioritized way? In a lot of instances, I don't think that there's necessarily like a lot of like investment per se. There may be, but it might also not be securities investment. And then it's a matter of trying to sell it to those system owners, application owners, business owners, that this thing is fragile. This thing is not resilient. If something bad were to happen, it will disappear. And I think that that's where, it's trying to help them understand that not only are we trying to prevent the bad thing from happening and whatnot, but it's really about like, hey, if that thing is resilient and predictable and performant, then you can actually move faster safely. And so, I mean, I think it's the how much. I don't think that there is a how much, or I don't think there's like a, hey, as long as you're 80% resilient, like you're good to go. It depends on your business's risk appetite, right?
Yeah.
If you're fine,
you can't say. Yeah, and I was talking about this on a recording yesterday. You start with what would decimate us, what would be the end of us, and start working backwards. I gotta assume you begin like that. Yes, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly one way of starting to boil the ocean or eating the elephant or whatever really unpleasant, large experience you might have. It's really, it's starting that conversation. What are critical business processes? Mapping out what are the different elements of that thing, and then how do we make sure that those elements are resilient to an acceptable level, right? Some of it might involve some investment, but I think in a lot of instances, it's really just about like changing the way you build or operate, getting rid of those like special, unique little things that someone's been tending to for the last 30 years because they think it's special. Special things are bad.
Yeah, that is a good point. All right, we have more bad ideas coming in. Andrew Aiken, I'm throwing this on. How can you differentiate that from FUD? Okay, so this is a good question for you, Liz.
Okay.
I'm sure you try to manage this yourself when you're selling Axonius. How do you differentiate the resilient mindset without throwing the fear, uncertainty, doubt sales pitch, which is that I bet you is a pretty fine line that you have to ride.
Well, it might be, except I'm not very good at selling in general. I'm a field
Okay.
CISO because I was a practitioner forever.
Mm.
So instead, I tend to take a much more measured approach when I talk to our customers. Um, I certainly would hope that our salespeople do the same thing because FUD is just not a thing that I have much
No, but
respect.
it's close to a conversation about
Certainly,
resilience. It is.
certainly. But following on to what Nick said, I mean, this is about the deployment of resources and the decisions you make thereof. You're investing in how much heartache do you really want? If you are going to identify your crown jewels, for instance, I kind of hate that term, sorry, but I used it. If you're going to identify that and focus your efforts around, creating resilience for the most important elements of your infrastructure, for instance, that's one way of achieving resilience. It's probably not the most holistic. It's probably not the most comprehensive way, but it's a start. What will that get you? Well, it'll probably get you protection in that one area of your infrastructure, but it's not a solution in total. Taking, kind of zooming out, that example we were talking about earlier, where you have VMs and you're moving to Kubernetes, and all of a sudden you can operationalize the very things that will create resilience across the board from a base infrastructure perspective. What a great idea. I tend not to rely on FUD for selling any idea because those folks are out there. We have the internet. I don't need to scare people. There's plenty out there in the media. This is more about, when I sell Exonius, I really want to talk to leaders about their strategies and how they're deploying resources and what they're asking their people to do day to day and how we can make that better.
Hmm.
And just to jump in on that, like I
Sure.
think that there's like FUD is when we're trying to justify something that might happen, we might get breached, right? I think in a lot of instances, failures of failures of resilience happen all the time. You just go talk to your teams
Yep.
about, hey, what was that really hard thing that like failed, right? Or that was really hard to recover? Or why did we have so much downtime? Well, like doing like a 5 whys around things of like, what is the thing that actually led to this being a much bigger problem? And that last why is usually going to be the resilience piece. Solving that fixes all kinds of problems that are actively happening all the time. They're not security incidents per se.
Right.
But if we focus on fixing the resilience problem, a lot of the security problems that are byproducts of bad resilience go away. And so we just become winners of, the downstream effects of resilience at that point.
I could not agree more. And that goes back, it lends itself to what we were saying before about kind of introducing resilience in your base infrastructure,
Hmm.
going through a 5 whys process during a post-mortem and coming out with a couple of
I'm
things
a
that the
huge
operations
fan of the 5 whys.
love the 5 whys. Absolutely. Because they make everybody think. Very often it can come down to, well, security let that one through. Well, security was doing its best, but you guys didn't really help because you had,
Right. And
best
by the way, for
support,
those
best
people who
love.
don't know what the 5 whys is, based on the Japanese philosophy. It's the process of constantly asking why. Like you start
Right.
with, why did this happen? And then you get like what you just said, well, security let that through. And then you ask the second, why did security let that through? Because this and this. Why did that happen? And so the point of asking the 5 whys is to get to the true root reason, cause, whatever it is, which is never answered at the first time you ask why,
Right.
ever.
And then galvanizing around that as an organization, right? And that's usually a leadership agreement thing,
Mhm.
part of policy, part of common procedures in any organization. Galvanizing around that and making a plan for remediation, that's resilience in action. That's fixing the problem wherever it lives. It's not about blame. It's not about attribution. It's not about operations fell down and cyber saved the day. It's none of those things. It comes down to how much more trouble do we really want to have from this one or two or three things that need to be fixed fundamentally, and having buy-in across the board from the business and from the various technical leadership is key to making that happen.
Uh, so, all right. I think we got a call that just came in.
Hello, welcome to the Department of Yes, where no request is ever rejected.
All right. I'm just going to copy and paste this in the chat, and then we're going to put it to the screen. like this, and then I'm gonna show it on stage. Whoops. It's gonna look like it's my quote, but it's not my quote. So here we go. Your network is like a human body. It gets stronger with stress. So launch a bunch of malware in your network to build up its immunity and make it stronger and resilient. From Dwayne Grand. I'm going to ask you, Liz, to answer. Why do you want to do this? It's actually not that bad of an idea. Liz, what do you think?
I mean, it really kind of smacks of like democratizing red teaming. Let's do it. I think that's a great idea.
It's got the stench of Chaos Monkey, is what it's got the stench
Oh,
of.
it
Nick,
does. It
what?
does. but
Why?
yeah.
Why do you want to do this?
You took
I
the words
wanna-
out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why would we want to wait for someone else to do it to us when we're not ready? Right? We should do this ourselves now so that we know whether or not we're going to have a problem, in the future, and eliminate all the badness.
All right, I'm going to give you each a point for that. Good job. Good job. All right. So what's the next one? Okay. Hold on, let me see. I'm getting a few bad ideas. Oh, wait. Here we go. Andrew Aiken. Andrew Aiken, who really kind of knows how to deliver. He delivered once again here. All right. Let's just show this one on stage here. Andrew Aiken, who says here, forget patching, invest in motivational cat posters. I kind of like this. After breaches, employees feel encouraged to rebuild systems quickly. The hang in there one. Because nothing says resilience than kittens hanging on branches saying, hang in there. Oh, he used that example. Andrew Aiken. I'm going to start with you, Nick. Why do you want to do this? Again, your investment, you've got these motivational cat posters all over the office. You haven't spent on any network protections or resilience or backup systems, but this is what you're going with. Why do you want to do this?
I mean, if something bad happens, the insurance is going to give us money to just go rebuild everything fresh again. So, I mean, we'll have a brand new infrastructure and everything will be great.
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay, that's a good answer. Relying a little too heavily on insurance, I don't know about that. But Liz, why do you want to do this?
Well, first of all, it should be said, I just got a cat this year and now I love cats. So I
Okay.
am definitely in support of spreading cat love everywhere. And I think everybody responds to cats the same way I do. So that's
I don't
definitely
know, because I'm
motivating.
allergic.
Oh
Yeah, I was going to say we'll just bring happiness and that will solve all of our problems.
Here's how to make your suggestion work. Part of the hiring process is you have to be a cat owner.
Cat person. Yeah.
So all employees are cat people. And Nick, back me up on this. Culture is one of the most important things in security, right?
It certainly is.
Absolutely.
So if you have cat owners, you got motivational cat posters,
Yeah.
focusing on security and the cat posters, you're going to have a pretty strong cat/security culture. What do you think?
I like it.
Cultures can be toxic, right?
What,
That's
cat culture
cat
of cat lovers?
It's a culture. It's a strong culture. It might be toxic.
All right. Good job, both of you. I was impressed. By the way, here, let me I didn't throw out the poll again. Let me throw this up again. Show on stage. We have split. Please get in there and vote. Vote. If you would like a nice warm handoff to the nice people over at Exonius. We will make that happen. Please go ahead and vote on that. We would love it if you do that. Remember, the icon is just the little 3 bars on the left-hand side, right to below the chat, which you are all in right now. All right, we have 15 minutes left, and we've got actually some more really good questions that came in, and I want to go to them right now. This one, okay, this is a good one from Lyle. Lyle Jakin, who's a sales executive over at Bet Tech. When working to get leadership support, buying dollars, whatever, what are some sample metrics you have used to show ROI? If that's what you show, any research you can point to that might help. So what do you think there? What do you show? Like, if we do this, then this will be more resilient. Here's the proof, kind of a thing. Nick.
So we started off with, and we're getting to the resilience conversation and the ROI, like the positive ROI conversation, as opposed to minimizing downside risk. Because to me, minimizing downside risk is like you're just reliant on someone believing in you at that point, and like the FUD becomes real. So you actually just said the word, and I think that's the most important thing, is showing how culture is changing. right?
Mhm.
Culture is resilient rhythms and habits into resilience, right? Um, and so the our goal is really showing metrics around how culture is changing. So think about it from the perspective of like SDLC security, and you have your static code analysis scanning. If you're finding a bunch of stuff, but no one's engaging, no one's fixing, no one's part of that conversation, you're just identifying a bunch of stuff. That's not effective. You're just collecting a list of vulnerabilities, which is typically what we do. Look at the number of vulnerabilities we have. Oh no, it's so bad. What really matters is, are we engaging in a way that's effectively changing the culture of how people approach these things and then instill the right rhythms and habits? And then the notion of like rhythms and habits then drive velocity, right? They then drive culture. They then improve the way that we do things. And so that's the story that we're working on telling now. The role I've been in about like a year and a half now. So like we're just at the point now of starting to identify those inflection points, like how we tell that story in a very real way. The trick becomes when you start tying it to dollars, the first thing's like a dollar number, like this risk costs this amount of dollars. It's like the first thing people are going to do is be like, I don't believe your math. Right?
Yeah.
Like, nope, not buying it. And so like you'll spend a lot of time working on like your whole fair analysis and your Monte Cristo simulations and like all that, and or Monte Carlo simulations, and it's all, I know Monte Cristo, not cigars.
It makes me hungry.
It's
It's a
fine.
sandwich.
It's true. A delicious sandwich.
But yeah, you're gonna end up like you're still trying to convince someone of something that they may just fundamentally not believe. And in my mind, culture are things that you just can't argue. And so that and the key is then how does that actually drive velocity and how does that drive revenue? I'll give one example that's concrete, very
Mhm.
concrete.
Mhm.
And it's on the sales side. It's, if you're working in a B2C, in a B2B company, right, you're going to go and get your SOC 2 and your, high trust and all that fun stuff. And what you want to do is make sure that you're measuring things around the rhythms and habits of a sales cycle. So, hey, are we measuring the compliance and due diligence phase? Yes or no? If they're not, cool, start measuring that. I want to know how long it is. Let's say it's 3 weeks, right? I go and get my SOC 2, my high trust, we put up a trust portal, and that gets knocked down to 1 week. So that's now 2 weeks earlier that we're onboarding a customer. Well, if I take their ARR for the year and I divide it by 52, and then I take the 2 weeks that I just added, and so multiply that number by 2, that's my ROI. That's my revenue. We move faster. We have better habits and rhythms around due diligence, period. Can't argue with that.
If we don't test our instant response plans, someone else will, from a Monsood. Yes, that'll happen.
I like that answer. Yeah.
And they won't send you a calendar invite for it either. All right. Liz, do you want to add anything to this question about what's the metric to show ROI? I'm assuming
I
you're gonna
would.
do it with Axonius. Yeah.
I would, yeah. And I would say, just to add on to what Nick said, all very well expressed as is typical. There is a maturity in metrics that I think we don't always kind of bring up in conversation. A metrics program, just like any other program, like a resilience program, you don't go from 0 to 60 in the first day. It takes time. And I think you do want to show those trends of improvement over time. One thing I've done in my previous life as a leader was to look at revenue generated by application, use some of the math to figure out rather how much each day, hour, etc. of outage would cost. Those are very ham-handed relative to what's possible. If you look at FAIR, it's fascinating stuff, but it takes a while to get there. You can do a simple cross-section of what your systems are earning, what it costs to have them down, and assign some value to things if you are interested in bringing financials in. I would suggest, however, that over time, you are going to find what your organizational requirements are around ROI description, because it's not always about dollars. Sometimes it's about time. Sometimes it's about reputation. Each organization is different.
And by the way, no, I've mentioned this story before, but I had a conversation with a CISO who asked, could you, what's the longest you could be without internet? And they just kind of shot from the hip and they said like 24 hours. Oh yeah, we can be 24 hours. And they actually then had an incident where they had an outage and they realized, no, not even
Or
an
like
hour.
24
They can't
seconds.
even,
Yeah.
yeah, no, not an hour. And so you have to go from the shooting up, I don't know, I guess we could go a day. We all go grab a bite kind of a thing to, no, let's test it. Let's see.
Yeah. That's why testing is such a big part of resilience, in my opinion. You know, you hypothesize things, and if you've been in the game a minute, like Nick and I have, you can hypothesize pretty close. But close, but no cigar is not great. Even when you hear it from your mom, it's really terrible when you've got a board to report to and a whole host of people sitting there waiting for information about what to do next.
Exactly. Here, I'm
The-
going to pop. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say the opposite side of that is people that I need 100% resilience and uptime, and
Right.
it's like that's not a thing either.
Do you?
Like
Yeah,
that's literally
no.
not a thing.
No.
So
Because because yeah, it's like saying to the business, well, I need guaranteed 40% increase in revenue year over year. Can you do that?
Well, when it comes to the, you know, if you're talking about 5 9s, there's all kinds of measure out there about what it will cost you. Does it
Yeah.
make sense to pay for that? In some cases, I worked for an organization where we had 5 9s and it cost a
Yeah.
lot of money.
No,
and
no.
we
and
needed
You
that.
look at a financial institution, they cannot be down.
Yes.
But
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm
but
referring
like
to.
the corner store, if they have to close for a day, they close for a day.
Yeah. And
It's
it
a
can be,
day's lost revenue.
yes. And it can be unpopular to say, we really don't need to have uptime of 5 9s. 1 9 is fine. That means we'll have X amount of time. And I don't have my chart in front of me. So you guys, somebody
Yeah.
out there has that math. And that's okay for us, for our business, for us as a company. You're
Right.
gonna kind of build and train to whatever level of availability, as just an example, you need to really align with the business priorities.
All right, I'm going to need to. We're going to need to wrap up the show in just a few minutes. I'm going to just quickly put this up as a full screen. Do not click the upper right hand corner unless you've already registered. Click the lower left hand corner and click register. Why not? It'll open up another window, and then you can register for our next event, which will be a week from this Friday. A super fun discussion we will have then. But I just want to mention a few things as we wrap up, and I'll come back and ask you one last question, and then everyone stick around. We're going to have our fun meetup, which is all right here on this platform. You don't need to go anywhere. So first, huge thanks to Exonius for sponsoring this event. We greatly appreciate it. They've been a phenomenal sponsor of the CISO series. Oh, I completely forgot. We have a demo video that was done. Can we put that in the chat? The demo video,
Cool.
the link to that, and it's also going to be available in our newsletter that we're going to drop on Sunday. So we have an awesome demo video showing these resilience aspects that you can see. So you'll see that right there. All right. In about 95 minutes, we will be doing our cybersecurity headlines weekend review show with the phenomenal Rich Stroffolino. And our guest is Jim Bowie. No, it looks like you pronounce Bowie, but it's pronounced Bowie. He is a VP and CISO over at Tampa General Hospital. He's been a great guest on the show in the past as well. Stick around for our meetup. All right. The breakout rooms are open right after the show, so you don't need to go anywhere. Just stay where you are. And if you ever want to sponsor a Super Cyber Friday, we got events opening up in August. Email us at info@cisoseries.com. We would love to have you on board. All right. Hide from the stage. All right. With that being said, we have just 5 minutes left. I will start with you, Nick. What is one topic on resilience? And my apologies to the questions I didn't get. We got a lot of questions. What is one issue of resilience we have not touched upon that you want to make sure that everyone addresses or is aware of?
Automation, I think, is probably the biggest one. Like driving a program of automation and automating all the things is really, in my mind, like probably the biggest impact you can have on resilience to a large extent. And we didn't call it out specifically, so I do want to call that out.
Okay. And I will throw this to, automation. Yeah, I mean, we've done many shows on automation. I will throw this also to you, Liz.
I'm so glad. Good.
What have we not discussed that you want to make sure everyone's aware of?
So I'm going to go opposite of Nick, and I'm going to say it comes down to if your automation fails, if you're in an outage and you don't have capabilities, what do you do then? I think it has a lot to do with having a team that's trained on not just what to do when things are good, but what to do when things are not good. DR testing, continuity exercises. I hate tabletops. I hate doing them because I just do. That's just my thing. But they are really, really important because very often you can see where the gaps exist in your people's understanding of the now what.
We
And
hear
having
this
backup.
again and again and again.
Yes,
There's
I'm
nothing
sure.
you want under a stressful issue to not know who the person to call that either can
Yes.
solve something or make a decision on something.
Yes, and who
That
needs
is the
to
point of tabletops.
yes, and who needs to know who needs to notify legal, who needs to, if you've got a regulated business,
Right.
who needs to get in touch with that person who's like your sounding board for declaring an incident to the SEC, for instance. There are so many people items when something goes wrong. There are so many people items that get overlooked until you get to an incident, and that is the worst time possible to figure it out. So that I would say
Yes.
yes, automation's
Yes.
important, but having your people know what to do, it's right there.
1,000% agree with you.
Cool.
But if it's automated, you don't need the people, right?
Oh, so cynical, Nick.
All right. Let's wrap this show up. You've been phenomenal, Liz. Thank you so much.
Thank
A
you.
huge, I would say a huge virtual round of applause. In fact, I believe I do have an applause meter here. Here we go. For coming here. Liz Morgan, who's the field CISO of Exonius and the CISO over at Oscar Health, Nick Vigier, which, by the way, if you had come on earlier before even Nick showed up, I was mispronouncing it in 12 different ways. Also thinking that second I was an L.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
that's also popular. And Vigler is definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, Vigler is definitely easy to get wrong, but you're very aristocratic. It's
There you go.
Vigier.
Vigier. All right. Everyone, stay exactly where you are. Don't go anywhere. Don't click anything for the moment. We're going to wrap this show up, and then Andrew, our producer, is going to create the breakout rooms. Just so you know, you can move in and out of breakout rooms. Just the program sort of automatically throws into you any rooms. Don't say, hey, why did I get put in this room? We have no control over that. But we're going to get through it. But you're welcome to move in and out of rooms. Please feel free. And don't feel bashful saying, I want to move to another room. Don't think anyone's like, second you move, everyone's go, oh, why the heck did Liz leave? What did we say? Or who stinks here? Or something like that. So that's not going to happen either. So let's wrap up the show. Thank you, Liz. Thank